We are starting with systemic approaches. Okay, so your first system will be CVS. So from now onwards, how your approach should be is for every system, for every disease which you are going to learn, the causative organism might be virus, might be bacteria, parasites or fungus. Okay, so we have covered the introduction part for each organism, for each classification, the types of bacteria, virus, parasites, fungi. Yes, in fungi is also again trophozoites and what is it? Trophozoites and helminths. So you should know this classification first, then it is easier for you for the systemic approach. Okay, so first is cardiovascular system. Today's is introduction to cardiovascular system and rheumatic fever. Okay, so here for cardiovascular system, what things you should know is the types of infections in the heart. In heart, this was taught to you in first year. Yes, the parts of the, how do we again class the various parts of the heart: endocardium, myocardium, pericardium. So each part, what types of infections will be there, and then infections of blood vessels, device related infections and autoimmune mediated. So the one important ones which you need to know here is for endocardium, infective endocarditis will be covered to you later on. Okay, and for blood vessels, again infective endocarditis, and device related is CRBSI. What is it? CRBSI was covered to you. It is covered, CRBSI, in hospital acquired infection. What was it? CR is, yes, somebody is answering. What is it? Catheter related bloodstream infection. Very good. Okay, then autoimmune mediated is acute rheumatic fever, which we will cover today. Okay, so for acute rheumatic fever, it is a multi-system disease, okay, which occurs due to previous infection with group A streptococci. Okay, and the result is because of the autoimmune reaction. Okay, this is acute rheumatic fever. And there is another thing called as rheumatic heart disease. Okay, rheumatic heart disease is when all the manifestations will resolve completely, but only your cardiac valvular damage will remain. That is called as rheumatic heart disease. So there is difference between acute rheumatic fever and rheumatic heart disease. Clear? Yes. So the causative organism here is which one? It is group A streptococcus. You have to remember that. Okay, for every disease you should know the causative organism. So streptococci, is it a gram positive or a gram negative? Gram positive. Bacilli or cocci? It is there in the name itself. Okay, so it's a gram positive cocci. Okay, so you should know the virulence factor. So virulence factor here is lipoteichoic acid, which helps in adhesion of the organism to the host cell, and another one is M protein, which helps in opsonization. Okay, another important virulence factor is this streptolysin O toxin. It is called as otherwise SLO toxin. Okay, so this is oxygen labile, heat labile, and because of this toxin is responsible for hemolysis. You have seen hemolysis during your practical classes, yes, on the blood agar. How do you, what happens in hemolysis in the blood agar? There is, we see greenish. That is types of, what are the types of hemolysis? Okay, why does hemolysis happen? Because of the breakdown of what? Breakdown of RBC in the agar. Okay, so what are the types of hemolysis? Alpha, beta and one more, gamma. So alpha is complete. Alpha is partial hemolysis. What color do you see because of partial hemolysis? Yes, greenish color. And then another one is beta hemolysis. Beta hemolysis is because of what? So Alpha is partial, beta is complete hemolysis, and then gamma hemolysis is no hemolysis. Okay, so you need to know example of each organism which will cause alpha hemolysis, beta hemolysis, and gamma hemolysis. Okay, so this virulence factor, this streptolysin O toxin, is responsible for hemolysis in the blood agar. So this organism will cause hemolysis. Okay, and it is cytotoxic to neutrophils, platelets, and cardiac tissue. Okay, so because of this toxin, we can actually use it for retrospective diagnosis of streptococcal infection. So in your antigen antibody reaction class, you might have seen ASO. ASO, you have heard about it? Yes, for latex agglutination. Yes, you remember ASO, you have heard or not? Anti-streptolysin O, there we detect for anti-streptolysin O by latex agglutination. So here we target this toxin, streptolysin O toxin. Clear? So pathogenesis, this actually mainly a disease of children aged from 5 to 14 years of age. Rarely an adult is actually affected by this disease, okay? And recurrent episodes of this ARF is more common in adolescents and young adults, okay? And females are more susceptible for this infection, okay? So how does the pathogenesis occurs? Mainly it is by the mechanism molecular mimicry. Molecular mimicry is again taught to you in immunology. So now you know the previous classes where we were just building bases for the systemic classes. So you have learned about molecular mimicry. What is it? What is molecular mimicry? Huh? What is it? Sorry?
The body's immune system mistakes their own antigens as foreign bodies.
Okay, own tissue for foreign antigen. Very good. Okay, so this molecular mimicry you will see in this streptococcal infection. Okay, so here there will be, like she told, antigenic cross reactivities will be there. Okay, it is because of your previous streptococcal infections, because of that repeated streptococcal infections. Okay, so for this acute rheumatic fever, what will you see? Here mainly your streptococcal M protein, which is present in the cell wall of the organism, will mimic like human antigen, like the myocardium. Okay, you have to remember M for M. Okay, M protein for myocardium. This myocardium will have tropomyosin and myosin. Clear? That's why it targets the tissue of the heart. Clear? Okay, then the C carbohydrate, which is there in the cell wall of the organism, will again mimic as those of cardiac valves. C for C, please remember, C for C, M for M, okay? M protein for myocardium and C for cardiac valves. These are the two things you will see in the acute rheumatic fever. Okay, these other ones you will see in other streptococcal infections. Like for example, this cytoplasmic membrane will mimic as such of glomerular vascular intima. So this you will see it in PSGN. PSGN is post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis. That will be covered later on to you during the renal systems. Clear? You have to remember these two names, M protein and C carbohydrate. Okay, so this ARF here in acute rheumatic fever, you will see mainly upper respiratory tract infections, and it is caused because of group A streptococci, please remember that, and it is usually because of the M protein. These are the serotype 1, 3, 5, 6, 14, 18, 19, 24, 27 and 29. People with HLA-DR7 and HLA-DR4 are more susceptible compared to others. Clear? So here we believe two theories are involved in the pathogenesis. One is the autoimmune theory, which we already spoke about, the molecular mimicry. Okay, the another one is cytotoxic theory. This is because of the streptococcal toxins SPE and the enzyme SLO. Okay, these two are directly cytotoxic to the human cardiac tissues. Clear? So clinical manifestations, generally the clinical manifestations will occur after approximately 3 weeks of the infections. Okay, so here most of the time the patient will be subclinical. So what is subclinical? Medicine, it is taught to you, isn't it? What is subclinical? Anyone? Clinical, subclinical, sub.
And the disease has not progressed yet.
Yes, the full blown, you will not see the full blown signs and symptoms of the disease. Okay, it is very mild. So most of the time it is either subclinical or the patient will present to you with sore throat. Okay, in acute rheumatic fever, along with the fever, heart, joint, skin and your brain will be affected. Okay. So these are the clinical manifestations. Migrating polyarthritis. Polyarthritis is, poly is many. Okay, multiple joint pain will be there, migrating, and it will migrate from one joint to another joint. Migrating polyarthritis, pancarditis, entire heart will be inflamed. Okay, then subcutaneous nodules will be there, and then Sydenham's chorea and erythema marginatum. Okay, so for diagnosis, this is the clinical criteria for diagnosis of acute rheumatic fever. Okay, this is modified Jones criteria. It was modified last year in the year of 2015. Okay, so these are the major criteria. So for major criteria, again we divided into low risk population and high risk population. Okay. So for low risk population, it is carditis, arthritis, chorea, erythema marginatum and subcutaneous nodules. It is almost same for the high risk population also. So in high risk population, in arthritis, it is monoarthritis or polyarthritis, but in low risk, it is only polyarthritis. Okay, clear? So who are the high risk population? I told you before, just now. Adolescence. So age is from 5 to 14, and then other than that, young. So these are the young adults. Other than that, the gender. Who are those? Female. Female comes in high risk population. Another one, genetic predisposition. Who has HLA? Good. Okay. So this comes under high risk population. Okay. So these are the minor criteria again. So for diagnosis, for initial acute rheumatic fever, the person has to have either two major or one major criteria along with two minor criteria. Clear? You have to remember this. Okay. And for recurrent acute rheumatic fever, the person has to have two major or one major along with two minor or three minor criteria. This is very important. This is often asked. Okay. So this will be asked to you in medicine as well. So along with the modified Jones criteria, other than that, we do look for this combination of clinical features like I told you, along with the ECG findings and laboratory findings. In laboratory findings, we look for ESR and CRP. So for any kind of inflammation and infection, ESRs and C-reactive protein will be always elevated. Okay. So next goes lab diagnosis. To approach any kind of systemic manifestations, you have to go in this order. Okay. So next is lab diagnosis. So your choice of sample. What should be your choice of sample? Swabs. So it is a throat infection. So it should be throat swab, okay, and then there is a fever, then blood sample. So for any kind of disease, any kind of manifestation, if whatever is the signs and symptoms, whichever tissue it is infected, that should be your ideal sample. Suppose if there is ulcer formation, I'm just telling you an example. Suppose there is ulcer formation, what should be your ideal sample? It should be the tissue from the ulcer or pus aspirate. Okay, this is how you approach. Okay, so first is your throat swab and blood for this case. Okay, and then you will do gram staining of the sample. In gram staining, like you told me, it is a gram positive cocci. So gram positive cocci, you told the characters, and then is arrangement. For any organism in gram staining, you have to tell what are the types of arrangement. What are the types of arrangement you know? Pairs, chains, clusters. Very good. So examples of each gram positive cocci in clusters. Example: Staphylococcus aureus. Okay, and then in pairs, gram positive cocci in pairs. Pneumococci. Okay, pneumococci, yes, but you have to tell the full name. It is Streptococcus pneumoniae. Okay, then in chains this is in chains. It is group A Streptococci, but name of group A Streptococci is Streptococcus pyogenes. Clear? Then another example I'll ask you: gram negative cocci arranged in pair. Gram negative cocci. Not talking about gram positive. Gram negative cocci arranged in pairs, and it causes STI, sexually transmitted infection. Yes, I can hear the name. What is it? Huh? Neisseria gonorrhoeae. Another one in Neisseria family. It causes meningitis. Neisseria meningitidis. This is gram negative cocci arranged in pairs. Okay. Next, we'll go for inoculation of sample. So first, after getting the sample, we prepare a direct smear by gram stain, then we inoculate the sample. Because it is fastidious organism, we have to inoculate it in blood agar. Okay, so in blood agar, like we told, we go and see the characters of the colony formed by the organism. So here you see hemolysis. So there is, what is it? There is complete hemolysis. Can you see? It is complete clearing is there. If it was alpha, you could see tinge of green. Okay, so it is complete hemolysis. It is fastidious and aerobic organism. Okay, in liquid media, it will produce granular turbidities. It will look like raindrops. Okay, and then selective media for this is crystal violet agar and PNF medium. And you have heard about catalyst test. Yes, it is one of the biochemical reaction for identification of the organism. It is catalyst positive. Bacitracin is an antibiotic. We use it for identification of this organism. So it is sensitive to bacitracin. Clear? Then we'll go for serology, serological test. We do it for ASO antibody, anti-streptolysin O antibody. The methodology used here is latex agglutination. Okay, so what do you see here? For the positive, there is formation of clumps. Yes, and B is negative. So for any test, I know it has been covered to you in your dope sessions, but I'm just telling you, for doing any kind of such test, we do put up controls. One is positive control and another one is negative control, and then we do the test. Test is your sample. So why do we do this positive control and negative control? What is the reason for us for using another, like we are take another extra step for the test? To compare. Okay, very good. Another one. One is to compare. whether the test is positive or negative. Another one. Yes, whether your test is valid or not. Okay, so whether your kit is working or not. So we store the kit in certain conditions. Some of the kits, it will be written there to be stored in cool and dark places. Temperature to be maintained is 2 to 8, and we have to see whether the kit is expired or not. So to see the validity of the test, we do put up positive control and negative control. Clear? So the titer should be more than 200 international unit per ml. Then we said ASO is positive. Clear? So treatment, drug of choice is penicillin. Okay, so it is given orally, either penicillin V or amoxicillin for 10 days, or otherwise intramuscularly single dose of 1.2 million units of benzathine penicillin G is given. Other supportive treatment is the patient will have pain because there is migrating polyarthritis. For that, to relieve the patient, we will give aspirin. Okay. Then, like I told you, there is, because of repeated acute rheumatic fever, it leads to what? Rheumatic heart disease. Okay, so we have to prevent it. So primary prevention is with antibiotic. Again, here also penicillin is your drug of choice. It can be given within 9 days of first onset of sore throat. Okay, then there is secondary prevention. In secondary prevention, again, long term of penicillin prophylaxis is given to prevent the recurrences of the acute rheumatic fever. Okay, so here also again intramuscular benzathine penicillin G is given every 4 weeks. If the person has penicillin allergy, then erythromycin can be given. Okay, so how do you test for penicillin allergy? So here I have mentioned that penicillin allergy is there. Yes, skin prick test. See, you have to correlate with the previous classes as well. Skin prick test we do, and we find out for what kind. So it is done for which hypersensitivity? Type 1. Type 1 is it, what kind of hypersensitivity is type 1? It is immediate. Okay. Then, this is very important. Most of the time, your case-based exercises or your essay questions will be framed up like this. So, it's a 7-year-old girl presented with a swollen red tender joints. Yes, and it migrates from one joint to another joint. Knees, ankles, hips, and elbows. Okay. Then she complained of painless lumps beneath the skin over bony prominences. Okay, and she had shortness of breath on auscultation. Murmur was heard over mitral valve area. ECG ECG showed prolonged PR interval. On inquiry, it was found that the child had repeated episodes of sore throat over a period of 1 year, and the last one being 3 weeks back. That means recurrence is there. Yes, and it is a girl child, 7 years old. So it is what? What is your probable diagnosis? What is the diagnosis? Is it rheumatic fever or rheumatic heart disease? Heart disease or fever? How many of you think it is a heart disease? Can you please raise your hands? Heart disease. How many of you think it is acute rheumatic fever? Rest all? No diagnosis. Refer it to another doctor. Is it? Read it out again, please. Everybody went through the case again? Yes, okay. So tell me again, the diagnosis? It is acute rheumatic fever. Why it is heart disease? Heart disease, only the cardiac manifestation will be left, the rest all symptoms will be resolved in rheumatic heart disease. Okay, so it is acute rheumatic fever. Clear? And most of the time this rheumatic heart disease we go and diagnose it in adults. Okay. So what is the etiological agent here? It is etiological agent means causative agent. It can be asked either as etiological agent or causative agent. What is the etiological agent? It is Streptococcus pyogenes. Streptococcus pyogenes is a group A streptococci. Clear? Okay. Pathogenic mechanism. What will you write? What is the pathogenic mechanism? So in pathogenesis I have covered. What is it? First one is, two theories are there. What is it? Antigenic. Another one is cytotoxic. Antigenic, what do you talk about? Antigenic, what is it? Molecular mimicry. You have to write in details about molecular mimicry. And which proteins will you write about? One is M protein and another one is C protein. Okay. And then in cytotoxic, what are responsible for the cytotoxic? SPE and SLO. So you cannot write it in abbreviation, okay? When writing, you have to write the full form. Okay? So what is the serological test used for this diagnosis of this condition? Okay, latex is incomplete answer. What is the serological test? Serological test. Latex is name of the methodology. What is it? What is the name of the test? ASO, anti-streptolysin O. Okay, by latex agglutination. This is the complete answer. Anti-streptolysin O, detection of anti-streptolysin O by latex agglutination. So, and then you have to write the value also. It is more than 200. Again, still incomplete. 200 international unit per ml. This is your complete answer. If you write only ASO or if you write only latex agglutination, you will get half marks. Okay, you have to write the complete answer. So how will you prevent recurrence of such episodes? In this case, by prophylactic use of penicillin. Very good. These are the answers. Okay. So healthy heart and healthy throat and healthy hearts, it can be prevented by early treatment of sore throat. Okay. So what are the doubts in this class? This you have to remember. This. Okay. Cell wall M protein, the serotypes of M protein M1, 5, 6 and M19. You have to remember. And it mimics like the myocardium. This one, and another one is cell wall C carbohydrate. It mimics like the cardiac valve. That's why it targets the cardiac tissue. Okay. So these are your high risk population. Adolescents, female and genetic predisposition people with HLA-DR7 and HLA-DR4. You have to remember this. Autoimmune theory, cytotoxic theory, and then this modified Jones criteria. Very, very important. Major criterias, minor criteria. After the major and minor criteria, how the diagnostic criteria. Okay. So in initial ARF, what is your diagnostic criteria? 2 major or 1 major along with 2 minor criteria. And in recurrent ARF, it is 2 major or 1 major along with 2 minor or 3 minor. Clear? You have to remember about lab diagnosis. In laboratory diagnosis, whenever you write it, you have to draw. So when you're writing gram-positive cocci arranged in chains, you have to draw the image here. Okay, so how will you draw the image? How will you draw the picture? HNE, no. Why will you use HNE? What color will you use? Purple and pink. So for this, what will you use? Which color? Huh? So there is a way how you draw the diagram as well. We told you in your initial class to carry a bangle. Yes? So you'll use the bangle, you'll draw the circle. This circle should be drawn by pencil. Then you will draw what? Gram-positive cocaine arranged in chains. Again, some people they draw like this. No, cannot draw like this. Is it visible? Last bench, and you have to fill it up here. Okay, still it is incomplete. What else you have to do after drawing? Label. What do you write it here? GPC? GPC in chains? No. Gram positive. Cocci, then arranged in chains. You have to very elaborate. This is how your diagram should be. Clear? No doing like this. I have seen many of the copies. No. Okay? If it is chains, you have to draw it in chains. If it is clusters, you have to draw it in clusters. Clear? So any doubt? So 23rd, as you know, I think 23rd is your FA2. So any doubt regarding FA2? I don't want any one of you bunking your clinicals and classes for FAs. Your FA is also important and your attendance is also important. Okay? Any doubt regarding your FA2? No doubt. Okay. So for SDL class, Saturday's SDL class, all of you should bring your SGT notebook. Okay? The small group teaching notebook you should carry. Okay, because I think you have to write down few things in your SDL class on your SGT notebook. Okay, okay. So any doubt for the regarding formative assessment or this class or your internal assessment, first internal assessment? Huh? Syllabus. Okay. Syllabus will be given to you officially, okay, but I'm just telling you syllabus is general microbiology for your FA1 and FA2. Those are your internal assessment 1 syllabus. Whichever portions we are taking for FA1 and FA2, that is your internal assessment 1 syllabus. Any other doubt? So practical part also, it is there. So practical, what you have done till now. One is you were shown staining. Before staining, you were shown many things. Those will be kept for you for spottings. Spottings, you have experience with spotting in your first phase exams also. So what spotting is out of 10 marks, and each spotting, how many minutes you get? 1 minute. And in spotting, what do you write for the spottings? First is identification, then is 2 related points. 2 points, and that's how you get a whole 1 mark. Okay, half marks for the proper identification, half marks for your 2 points of the points for the related spottings. Okay, and no short forms. Don't use any kind of short forms while writing. You have to practice on your speed of writing because it is 1 minute for each spottings. Then, other than spottings, what else you have done till now? Staining. 2 stainings are completed till now. What are the stainings? Zill-Nielsen, Gram staining. Both the stainings you will have to perform by yourself, and you will have to write the observation, inference and diagram, and you will have to focus it by yourself. And there will be vivas during the stainings related to the staining. So in stainings, what are the things you should cover? Do you know? One is step. Step you have to remember. Step, what are the steps? Each step for how many minutes or how many seconds. And for primary stain, which is the primary stain we are using right now for this current procedure, and which are the alternative primary stain, and which are the alternative counter stains that can be used, and for this particular procedure, which counter stain did we use? So what is the primary stain of Gram stain? Crystal violet. Most of you wrote what? Methylene blue. Methylene blue is alternative. For some other Gram stains we can do. So this is just an example. Other than that, you have to know the principle of the stain. Whether it is Gram stain, whether it is Zill-Nielsen stain, you have to know that. Other than that, you have to know modifications of each stains. Which are the types of modifications, what modification is done, and why is the modification done. That you have to know. So examples of organisms for the modification. So one is in Gram stain, you have to know the the examples of each type of organisms. One is Gram positive cocci. Gram positive cocci arranged in what are the different kind of arrangements and examples of each. Then Gram negative cocci, example, Gram positive bacilli and Gram negative bacilli. These examples you have to know, you will be asked. Okay. Same like that for Zill-Nielsen, which is the acid fast organism, and whatever modification is done, for which organisms the modification is done. Principle you have to know. Clear? So any other doubt you have?